All right. Welcome to the show, everyone. Dave is a etheric floating head down in the bottom of the screen. But
I could put my head on Greg's body if you.
No, I'd rather see him in Jerrod's crotch.
I wonder if I can move it. Oh gosh, I can. I can move him big. Anyways, but yeah, he'd rather see him nestled between my creamy thighs. Anyways, hope everyone's having a good night and a good week. We may have someone calling in here in a bit, but for right now, we're going to just kick it off. We're chatting with Amanda Davis. And Amanda, I don't know if everyone remembers the incident where Breezy and Riley were kidnapped, for lack of a better word. They were abducted and murdered down by Eureka. And I've asked Amanda to come in to kind of give us an update on what's going on with that. And of course, Greg's back. Greg's now a permanent part of the show because we got to have someone to razz on because they're crazy leftists. Either way, but I want an update on that. I want an update on where we are as a town, as a state, as a county on eradicating the world of Jerrod Baum. And his name is spelled different than mine. Don't put us in the same room.
Right.
But anyway, so Amanda, I don't know. Would it be okay to kind of run over the story real quick for people who aren't familiar with it?
Absolutely. So
come in nice and close to it.
Okay, absolutely. So Breezy and Riley, they were dating. They'd only been dating a few months, but Breezy was living with Riley in Eureka. Because of the holidays, they were back and forth between Eureka and Tooele. And during the holiday, right after Christmas, they were traveling back to Eureka and they just disappeared. And it took a couple days. So from December 30th to the 2nd, which they were known to go back and forth. So for us to know where they were, it took a couple days to go, wait, something's not right. So
it's a 45 to hour long drive, especially in the snow.
Absolutely. And so January 2nd is when they were reported missing. And we struggled between Juab County and Tooele County to get anyone to try and help us look. There was an assumption they were just runaway teens. Fortunately, taking in Riley's bank statements when there was no activity on it, we were able to get some headway with Tooele County. Thank goodness. They did a search. They were doing a search that Friday. Once Tooele County was involved, Juab County got involved, and Utah Off-Road Recovery, they helped us organize a search. And we searched for the kids. The Flying Cowboys, they helped search also that Friday, January 5th, covered 50, or it was like, I can't remember the exact mileage, but it was a large landmass that they covered.
Between here and Eureka, which is about, I don't know, I'd say probably about 45 to 60 miles.
Yep.
And then you've got the outlying areas of both.
Yep.
And there's a lot of trails. I mean, there's one main road, but there's
Absolutely.
A lot of trails in between.
Absolutely. And from an aerial perspective, we would have assumed if their vehicle went off that they would have been found. And we know that's not exact science, but it was that day that we had a gut feeling that they weren't going to be found above ground, that it was just something inkling that was in our hearts. So we started searching. It took us 3 months. We searched for these kids every single weekend. We went to over 40 different mines. Jeremy, he is the guy that rappelled down the mine shaft for us. He since rappelled down the mine shaft the kids were found in to see if they could find any more evidence, anything like that. And unfortunately, we didn't. But we had people going down mine shafts. We've had the community support's been unreal in helping look for these kids. But fortunately, through the investigation, the detectives, they didn't give up. They didn't just blow it off that they were just kids that took off. And we're so grateful that they continued the investigation. It was found. At first, we were kind of off the trail, and we thought it was Riley's mother. and her boyfriend at the time.
Yeah, I remember that's a little sidetrack
Yeah. And
because there was a confusing situation there.
correct. And so Riley was adopted by Bill Powell and Linda Powell, Misty Carlson's mother. And so Linda and Bill got married, adopted the 3 kids. And so Misty wasn't as an engaged parent. So when the kids went missing, she was already a witch hunt. She was already on trial. And,
Mhm.
and
So was he.
and so was Lee Shepherd.
Mhm.
And from their perspective, it was damned if they do, damned if they don't. And so they just continued. They were there, they were involved, we were talking to them, but they didn't search for the kids. And that's where a lot of it, they didn't want to forfeit information. I think they were afraid of whatever had going on. They were afraid that something else was going to happen to them. So their mindset was in the right place. But so that was a sidebar. And there was a toe strap that matched the one that was on the Jeep, which that's why it was Lee was looked at so much. From there, in the meantime, investigators were getting Facebook message. They were doing subpoenas for all of the kids' phone numbers, Facebook, email, all of that. And through that investigation, they saw the messages from Morgan Henderson that she was the last person that talked to Riley. Detectives went and talked to them. They said, no, we didn't see him.
Now, who's Morgan Henderson? Is that
Morgan Henderson is Jerrod Baum's girlfriend.
okay?
And she is the one that who was pulled over in March and told detectives where the kids were at.
Mm.
So
I was lucky they pulled her over. But so when they approached her, she lied and said, we have no clue.
mm-hmm.
Everything else.
Yep, that was the 1st of January. And it was just too much of a coincidence that that's the last person the kids that Riley had talked to.
And they were just stopping by to visit and then kind of drive through.
Yep, exactly. So she said that she had a carton of cigarettes. The way that she trailed it was, hey, I quit smoking. I have this carton of cigarettes. Do you want them? They're teenagers and it's free. They're don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they went.
How old were they?
Breezy was 17 and Riley was 18.
Yeah, they're kids.
Yeah. And so they went to Morgan. They went and met up with Morgan, and that's that. Then at that point, and do you want me to go into detail of what happened that night?
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. So that the night they showed up there, hung out with her, and obviously this is from Morgan's testimony that Jerrod. So the kids left. Jerrod came back shortly after and came in asked to see her phone, told her you shouldn't, or I told you not to talk to people, told her get dressed, gave her gloves, a scarf, hat, told her get dressed, we're going for a ride. When she came out of the house, the kids were already hogtied in the Jeep. And they got in the Jeep and he drove them to the mine shaft, which was 3 miles from the house. So from where Morgan and Jerrod were living in Mammoth. And when they got there, they parked up from the mine and walked. As they were walking, they were talking. I don't think at this point, Jerrod's very charming. He's very much of a people person. So he's that kind of person that, like detectives had said, you'd walk up and he was like a good old boy. Hey, how are you? How's your brother? How's it going? And so Morgan had said that there didn't appear to be fear at that point. They were tied up, but then when they got to where they parked the Jeep, got out, he let their legs go and they walked. It was probably half a mile to the mine shaft. And they were talking along the way. They got to the hole. They shared a cigarette. And at that point, Breezy, they could tell something was going on. Breezy told them she was pregnant, or told Jerrod that she was pregnant. And Jerrod had something against Riley. It was obvious through the passion and the heat in which he brutally beat Riley and stabbed him from his knee up multiple places, through his groin, through his stomach, through his lungs, through his throat, through his head, before throwing him into the shaft. It was then at that point he went over where he had Breezy and Morgan kneeling on the side of the mine shaft across from them. And he went over to Morgan, and from what I recollect, he told her, it's a shame that he has to do this. He's never killed an innocent before. And Breezy was crying, begging, pleading, please don't hurt me. And then he was holding her, cradling her, loving her. And then he slit her throat and he threw her into the mine shaft. The autopsy showed she was alive when she hit the bottom. Her hip, there was bleeding in her hip. So it showed that she was alive upon impact. We don't know how long, but she was alive. At that point, Jerrod told Morgan, "You're going to help me clean this up, or I'm going to kill you." So at that point, Morgan, she complied. They drove the Jeep back to Jerrod's house. They got Jerrod's dad's truck, and they drove the Jeep out to Cherry Creek, abandoned the Jeep. That's where he threw Riley's wallet out between US 6 and Cherry Creek. So it's still out there somewhere. But then when they got back, they burned all their clothes. That's where there were reports of their clothes being burned. Like the bleach, they doused everything in bleach. And then the investigators were able to get a search warrant of Baum's house on the 25th of January. And it was at that point, Baum was arrested for having a gun. Now he's a repeat felon. He's been institutionalized since he was 15. He tried to attempted murder for a Burger King at 15, stole a vehicle. If you look up the Gunnison prison riots on YouTube, he was part of that. So Troy Kell is currently on death row. He is currently one of the 6 on death row. That was his mentor. So Troy Kell and Jerrod were in Gunnison prison together. The riots on YouTube, the Gunnison prison riot, Jerrod Baum's the one with the mullet. He's the one, with the mohawk. And he participated in that. He got in and out of prison. And it was through the Career Criminal Act, the Career Armed Criminals Act, that he was released on parole. So there was an act that would put in place that it's if you have 3 felonies, 3 strikes, you're out. Well, they felt that was too harsh. So the Utah Parole Board reviewed cases across the country, and there were 200 people. Jerrod was one of them that was released. Had that not have been lifted, he would have still been in prison so he wouldn't have gotten out until 2020. So he would still have been in prison. But because of a loophole in the system, he got out. It's believed that he assisted in the Blackman murder. There was a guy that's on death row that he built a shank for him. So he was involved in that. Troy Kell. So the Blackman. Yep. Yeah. So it's believed that shank that killed Blackman was made by Baum.
Yeah, and he passed it on to him. Is what he said.
Yep. So this guy's not a good. Morgan alleges, and I use allege lightly, that he's killed 18 people. And
I saw that they might move him to the serial killer list if they find evidence for, like, it's got to be 4.
And he has tattoos on his body. There was a motion which was approved so they had pictures of his tattoos that are like what you're wearing. Like if you were to have shorts, a regular, like a tank top, and they got a motion to be able to get photos beyond that. So what was under that clothing? So that we don't know that.
Tattoos of his victims.
Yep, exactly. And we haven't heard if there's anything about Breezy or Riley, but it helps with once we get to the guilty phase and we get through the sentencing phase, that can be used as far as determining what his consequences are.
Some of the tattoos are like headstones with initials in them or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's believed that he's killed 18 people. So
And he bragged about his tattoos being kind of a statement of his life, is what
exactly.
is okay.
Exactly.
So they build these tattoos in prison?
Yes.
Yeah. Make a prison tattoo gun. I'll teach you how next week.
I didn't realize. I always thought we were working the prisoners so hard they didn't have free time like that. But I must be under
They have a lot of
an
free time.
illusion.
Right.
No, no. One, we can't work them too hard. That would be
Unconstitutional
Yeah.
is the word that
And-
comes to mind.
And I'm big on the Constitution, but there's other parts of it I prefer we
absolutely.
stick to. So his girlfriend tells she gets pulled over
Mhm.
and tells the police, I
So
know about these murders.
Well, before
that have
that,
been
they
Yeah.
kind of lied at first, saying there was a drug deal going. They first said they didn't know him, and
Yeah.
then they knew that the
Yeah.
heat was coming down on him, and all of a sudden they
Mhm.
developed a story or an alibi to try to divert
absolutely.
it. So
Yes.
so it was kind of more just getting pulled over. She kind of lied at first and tried to divert the attention from him.
Absolutely. So they went to her house like 3 times before, when they arrested Baum, and they said, "Oh, we heard it. They were messing with these."
Now, was it
members."
after they arrested Baum, then she got pulled over and told
Mhm.
him when she was safe?
Absolutely. So
And which,
yeah.
that guy's a shit biscuit.
Oh, that's lightly said.
Yeah.
That's lightly said. Well, and for Morgan, right? So her and Jerrod were off and on in December, the 1st of December. So the kids were abducted the 30th of
Mhm.
December. The 1st of December. So Jerrod and her had gotten back together that November. He felt betrayed by her because while he was locked up before, she left and she started dating somebody else. And then he ended up dying in a car accident that October. They got back together and they ran into each other in November and got back together. Well, he felt betrayed by her. So he is, and I can't remember what religion it is, but he basically cut her deep enough that she had to have stitches, but basically did a ritual on her that she was his and that she's not going anywhere. And so that she's tied to him. So
Right, that was based on a Nordic because he has the
Yes.
door tattoo on.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
yep.
Oh, well, if he wants to do that, then let's do the fluttering eagle. Call it a day.
Wow.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But so for Morgan, and when people are intoxicated on drugs, you don't know what's going through their head. But she, for whatever reason, she didn't feel safe. He was locked up January 25th. Well, she was pulled over March 25th, and she was high on mushrooms. She
Mhm.
had all sorts of, like, a gun, axe, knives.
So she was kind of shady as well.
Her intent, and it's a fine line, right? Because for her, we need her.
Yeah.
We do believe that there is more to her involvement, but there's no proof, so we can only go with what we know.
Mhm.
And I do have to preface, as I might be a witness, I can only go off of what we know, what's publicly known, and feelings. So
Yeah.
just so you
But
know
I
that.
can talk off the hip.
Oh, you can. So
Yeah. So he's shit biscuit and she is shit biscuit stained napkin.
yes.
We'll call it a day.
So she gets pulled over, and I'm assuming she's afraid of her charges. She states that because they took her in for questioning, she says that she feels safe. And so one of the detectives, Chad, he's a huge man. He's bigger than Jerrod, taller than Jerrod. She
Now,
said
how
that-
big is Jerrod? He's like 6'2", 6'3".
I want to say he's like 6'3", 6. He's an 8XL was what when we last saw
Yeah,
him.
and a good 300 pounds. I mean,
Mhm,
he's a big
yeah.
dude.
Oh yeah, he's put on weight since he's been in prison. He's very comfortable where he's
Well, next
at.
we need to talk about the cafeteria then.
Oh, absolutely. He's not living uncomfortably right now, and hence why we want to push for the death penalty. And that we can get to there. But they so she confesses. She says, I can tell you where these kids are. I know where they're at. So through the investigation, she leads them to, takes them to the mine. They go, they get the search and rescue to locate them, and the kids are located. What's crazy, and I do believe in a higher power and divine intervention, was that was the first mine we were going to go down. So Jeremy and Jesse, the two individuals that went down the mine to the Beck mine, which was the road over from where we were, they actually looked at that mine January 18th. They stood over that mine, said, we're going to go down this. But from a logistic standpoint, it was private land. We thought when we did our research, it was 3,000 feet deep, which it was only 1,800. So the Tintic was only 1,800 feet deep, but we thought it was twice as deep as it was. We actually had a crane company that was going to offer to lower them in there. And we had this plan, but because it was private property and from a timeliness standpoint, we chose to pick another convenient mine that is just, you literally can drive up to it and the hole's right there. So that's the one that they went down.
And also private property, you want to go through the steps, get
Absolutely.
permission, and you're on the ground that day.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So they went down the Beck mine, and that was a different one, but they didn't go down that mine. They stood over it. We all stood over it multiple times. Those kids were in there, and we had no clue. But I think through the investigation, I think it happened for a reason, because had it not that way, we would have kids, but we'd have no clue how they got there.
Yeah. I think what needed to happen was have him go to jail on firearms charges, and then her, hitting the mushrooms and getting pulled over.
I think it all happened for a reason. And, it was tough. Those 3 months were tough, but I keep saying good things come to those who wait, and it's time. The wheels of justice are so slow, but I feel like it's going slow, so we have a good outcome. Through that, then, we went to trial with Morgan. She agreed to a plea deal in order for her testimony. So when she made that agreement, it was 3 years. Or once trial's over. We never thought that we would be this far, and the 3 years came and went, and we're still looking at late January, or the earliest is probably January of 2022, possibly spring 2022 to go to trial. But Morgan, she's since been released. She's in a safe place. She's supposedly there for 6 to 9 months. That's a motion that still needs to be heard. Is the state wants her deposition. Obviously, the defense doesn't want to have her deposition because it would be more convenient for her to disappear, die, kill herself.
Well, the state thinks she's suicidal too, don't they? They're worried about that.
Yeah. So when she was in jail, she had made a couple threats of wanting to kill herself. So her mental state is not the greatest. So, but she is still compliant. She's still following along. So, like I said, it's a double-edged sword that we want her to comply. We need her in our court because she's our only witness.
Well, when she's testifying, she sounds like she's pretty, kind of there. She doesn't sound like an emotional mess when she's up there.
Oh, absolutely. And I think for Morgan, she's lived a tough life. She's had a lot of loss in her life. And my own personal feeling is that she's just a victim of her circumstances, in a sense that she has a big heart, so she picks the wrong people.
And in her circumstance, that's probably the only people around her.
And that would be one of
Absolutely.
my questions to you too. So you really do believe that she really didn't have much to do with it?
I think she has more than she's saying, but we can only go off of what she says. So we can't go.
Yeah, she did pick a guy with a swastika on her.
On his face.
That's kind of a first notice.
On his face?
Yeah, he has one right here on the side of his eye.
Gotcha, but
That's usually a red flag for me.
it is.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely.
Man, you could go deeper and just, I don't know, put asshole across your forehead, but I don't know how you could really go deeper.
Right?
Well, it was interesting because the defense tried to, what do they call that? The something about chances with her, because she's been around three deaths, and they're saying it's like 1 in 45 billion chance that.
So they're saying that coincidence is consequence with her.
Well, then they want to introduce that as part of their defense.
And
did they make a decision on that? Or?
No, they haven't made a ruling on that. So hopefully we go back to court on the 17th, and that's where trials. So the judge had put out an order that the defense has to come and they have to be ready to set a trial date, and that was for June 4th. And then that order was out there. Well, I say fortunately, unfortunately, because he had to delay it 2 weeks because the Utah Supreme Court and the Utah Judicial Council had released an administrative order the day before that lifted from red to yellow, which means that we can go to court, we can hold trial, we can be in person.
On the Facebook page.
Yeah.
So that's what that was.
Yeah. So what the judge was saying was, okay, now that we can be in person, what does in person look like? Because we're still in a yellow phase in Utah County. So does that mean that how many people could be in the courtroom? What does the spacing look like? How, all of the nuts and bolts, as the judge would say, we've got to figure those out. So he had asked that we're given 2 more weeks to determine, to make that. So they're having a working meeting hearing on the 17th, and that's when the trial date will be set.
17th of June?
Yes.
Okay.
And with that, there's still a lot of motions that have been submitted that haven't been heard. Obviously, her deposition. I can't recall if there was a decision on change of venue, because the defense had said that the jury pool is tainted out of Utah County because of social media, news reports, those types of things. There's so many small ones that it has to be heard. It's just part of going to trial, but
well, he's not out on the streets right now, and that's
correct.
Good. What is he saying? Has he spoken at all?
He's not even given a plea. So he's obviously he's pled not guilty, but he's not said why. He's not said if it's insanity, he has an alibi. He's given absolutely nothing. And that's one thing that from our perspective is, how can you can't even say that you were somewhere, and the defense is really playing there. We don't have to provide anything. The defense hasn't provided anything.
Well, in due process, the prosecution, and it should remain this way, the prosecution should have to prove with evidence. But too bad COVID hit. I think we just saw a quicker resolution of this trial.
But 2 years before COVID seems like a long time.
Criminal trials, especially when the death penalty is asked for, commonly takes a long time. It's a big one.
Well, and plus it had to do with getting a witness, having more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's unconscionable that he killed 2 teenagers, that he left families in despair, and he would have probably gladly left families in despair forever.
Oh, absolutely. Like, there was no regard. So Nika, Riley's sister, ran into Jerrod and Morgan while we were, in between January and March.
While you guys were searching.
And Morgan hugged Nika and said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I hope you find your brother. Morgan liked the post Jesse made about going down the mine shaft.
So, yeah, sociopaths.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're fighting for justice, and I'm a firm believer in the justice system, and there is due process, and we have to, there's and it is slow and it is frustrating, but there comes a point where you can have the defense not have a defense, so they're going to drag it out, and there's a legal way of doing it, and I don't feel like they're effective counsel. And
does he have volunteer counsel or state appointed?
It's state appointed.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
then
Well,
They
it looks
may
like
not
they
be.
are going to try to divert and say Morgan did it. Or
Mhm.
something. Or
Yeah,
at
and
least try to
deflectors say
create
that
doubt.
somebody else create that doubt, and that's all they have to do is reasonable doubt that somebody else.
Right.
well, it has to stay in the state.
Hmm.
So I don't think anywhere in the state would be a Salt Lake could probably be his best bet,
Hmm.
where it's a diluted county.
Hmm.
But even then, swastika on his face, he's done.
We hope.
Okay, I should not.
Amanda,
Yes.
do you believe that the defense in their hearts believe that this man is innocent? I mean,
do.
I'm trying to look at it from the defense lawyer's perspective, and the idea that maybe a defense lawyer would actually hope that your witness commits suicide or has anything bad happen to her in life just to rid her of rid themselves of that nuisance, or to actually believe that this man could be innocent after finding the bodies and putting the puzzles together. I don't know if it's just a tough job, or is there something that has to be wrong with you in order to be able to defend something like that so arduently.
Oh, I agree. I think I do truly believe that the defense believes he's innocent. Now, they've not come out and said, oh, we're waiting directly for something to happen to her, but their strategy is written on the wall. As far as delaying, not getting a forensic psychologist in and using the pandemic as an excuse, yet they had 2 years prior to do that to get them in, but then they couldn't get a forensic psychologist here because of travel restrictions for COVID. Well, now, we don't even know if they've done that yet. So it's just been we've been around in circles from a legal perspective in them doing the right thing to get us ready for trial. The state's ready. They're 100% ready for trial. Obviously, through the investigation, through their work, there's little things that come in, but the state could go to trial tomorrow. It's the defense that is holding it up.
And that's a common tactic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he was paying for a lawyer, you'd see things like he would fire a lawyer 3 days out, hire a new one, and then that delays it. But where it's state appointed,
Mm-hmm.
he's
Absolutely.
stuck with what he's got. So you really think the lawyer thinks he's innocent?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's just based in talking with, throughout.
And they may have to convince themselves
Well,
he's innocent so
and
they
that's
can put
true.
up a defense, because their job is to defend.
They cannot. Yeah, they can't show any.
I mean, it's
So
a
he
hard
may just
job
be
on
acting.
something
It really
like
is.
this. But other cases where you look at a public defender that has thousands of cases. I mean,
Yeah,
they're there for a purpose.
Absolutely.
it's a tough thing.
It is.
It's tough that it's going on this long. But
Oh, absolutely.
So how long did COVID extend it? Another year and a half, 2 years, you think? Or
Yeah, at least. Well, you figure we were supposed to go to trial March 15th of this year, and we're looking at possibly the longest spring of next year. So it's delayed it a year. And as far as everything else, I can't say longer than that. But
probably
yeah.
depends on how it shakes out in
Mhm.
there.
so, and I have you been to every court proceeding or?
Yeah,
Have you?
I've been to every single court proceeding. Though for the WebEx ones, I've had I pull it up at my house, so they send me a link, and Bill and Debbie. Debbie is Bill's girlfriend. They come to my house. Randy, Breezy's grandpa, will come. They come and we view it all together. And as far as from I want to go back to the defense perspective. Even if they don't believe that if they think he's guilty, I believe that they're firm believers not in the death penalty, and so their fight is to the constitutionality of the death penalty and getting that off the table. I think that's their biggest goal, is to get the death penalty off the table. And from our perspective, this man's he's a horrible man. He's a horrific man, and he doesn't deserve to live. And if we don't fight for death, we're not fighting hard enough. Those
So-
kids don't have a voice.
So if he pled guilty in exchange to drop it, you guys wouldn't accept it to end it.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
I would go for that fluttering eagle. I don't know if you guys know what that is. But
No, but I'm on board.
Actually, Jerrod, it's called the blood eagle.
or the blood eagle.
Blood
It's
flutter.
called a lot of things, but it's pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
But
Now,
yeah.
let me ask you a philosophical question here, Amanda. I mean, as
Yeah. All right, Dave, something happened to us.
oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right. So I want to ask, like, if the judge gave you a choice at the end of the sentencing, where you could have this individual labor away at hard labor for the rest of his life uncomfortably, or the death penalty, would you still choose the death penalty?
Absolutely. Right now, where he's at, he is in max security, but he is comfortable. It's been clear over the last 3 years he's gained numerous. He's a big dude. He's thick, just to put it lightly. He's been institutionalized since he was 15.
Now, what's this institutionalization? Like
He's been in prison. He's been
in
locked
like
up.
youth prisons and then adult
No,
prisons.
he went straight to. He was at 15, tried as an adult for
Okay.
the attempted murder.
So not institutionalized like in a mental hospital,
Correct.
but in a prison. Okay.
He's been locked up. He's been He's been locked up more than he has been out in his life.
Where's he from?
Honestly, I don't even know. That's a great question.
Yeah.
Mammoth. I don't.
Okay.
Could you imagine what this guy's childhood must have looked like in order to create such a monster, though? You know?
I imagine it was pleasant.
Yeah, and it's just interesting when you see his dad. He appears to be such. So he did have a rough life. His biological dad didn't keep him. I believe it was his uncle that was his dad, because the family dynamic there was messed up, and it's clear that there were some strange things going on in his family, because his biological sister, who lives in Missouri, somewhere back east, she came to visit him, and through the phone calls in the prison, they've had sexual conversations. They've had this sexual relationship, phone relationship,
Well then,
with his sister. So there's that.
It was this conversation with his sister where he found out about the tattoos or something, because he was trying to show her the tattoos and said, "This is my life."
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that just goes to show his
mentality. He knew they were taping him. I mean, he knew they were listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
well,
So here we sit.
kind of speechless for a minute. You have the prison phone sex with your sister. That just,
Classy.
I mean, can't imagine.
So did she stay with the parents? Why were they split up? I mean, because they would.
And I haven't invested that time in looking at that side of it to know why that whole dynamic. But back to your question, as far as from death penalty or hard labored work, he's clearly not working hard. He's comfortable. He's where he's at. He enjoys being locked up, in a sense that's all he knows. So where he's at is comfortable. At least on death row, it's going to take away the most liberties without, and it's sad. We understand that the state's not going to send him straight to death, but at least it will make him the least comfortable that he can be while living on death row.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't fight for death, then we're not fighting hard enough, because those kids don't get a voice. They don't have a voice. They didn't get a choice to live or not. So why should he get to be home, comfortable, living this life when these kids aren't?
So he was jealous, thinking that Morgan was whatever because she talked to another male.
Mm-hmm.
So under that, auspices, he murdered 2 teenagers.
Yep.
Yeah. And how old is he?
Now he's 44.
So he's outside of the age range of youth male violence,
Mm-hmm.
which is 34. So he was past that when he committed it.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously this is probably not someone you can, rehabilitate and put back
Absolutely.
in society.
And under the notion that he's potentially killed 18 people,
That'd be an interesting one to look into. Is that
Mhm.
is that just Morgan saying that's something he said to her?
yes, but this talking to the community, talking to people, that it's like I said, allegedly. So obviously, what truth in it? But his tattoos are a story of his life. So
Mhm.
more will come in trial with that, and what we know about that.
Especially if it goes to the penalty stage.
Absolutely.
He was supposedly a hitman for the drug dealers down there or something.
It
That's
is-
what he talked
Yeah.
about.
Hopefully the state continues on with a little bit of research, see if there's any missing people they need to round up with that.
Absolutely.
Is there any support that you could use from the community here that you're not getting?
No, the community has been amazing. I do have to say that that's one thing that we wouldn't be where we're at if it wasn't for the community in searching for the kids, the strength, the support. We'd have balloon releases, and obviously, as time goes on, it dies off, and we still have the social media support, but in-person support, it has diminished, and it's understandable as time goes on. But it's been amazing. I'm not gonna lie. We have wristbands. We were getting donations for with the intent and for the park and we can talk about that in just a minute. But we were getting donations for that to put back once we got the land for the park, the Breezy and Riley Memorial Park. But we do have wristbands that if anybody is interested in them, we mail them, give them out to just show support. But no, even Twilla's been great. Eureka has been amazing. That community's been it's been beautiful. As far as the park goes, we did go yesterday to the Eureka City Park. So Tintic Consolidated Mining has donated. They donated the memorial that's up at the mine, but they also donated, and they announced it officially yesterday. So we've known about this for a couple years, which was 1 acre that we thought, but they extended it to 2 acres of land that has been donated on behalf of the kids. So it's going to be the Breezy and Riley Memorial Park. And we met, and they announced that. But we met with a developer, and he had a vision, and it's beautiful. It's a 2-acre piece of land with pavilion. Bill wanted a basketball court, which Bill, you're getting your basketball court. Also a lake. So it's a receding, and it's a lake that it'll be gray water from the housing that's xeriscaped. So it's all environmentally friendly, but it will have a walking trail and there'll be benches around it. But on top of that, the most beautiful thing that I love, and giving back to the community, I'm big about helping people. I think if somebody knows me, they know that I'm a helper. That they want to do a basin that goes underneath the water, like a wishing well, that people can go, that throw their change in there. They can go pay their respects. If they want to throw their money in there, there's a basin that will collect the money. Then we can collect that and donate it to charity, family in need. And it gives us that liberty to be able to continue to give back to the community. And it's more, and we had anticipated, so all of the donations that we've gotten from the community, Pizza Hut was amazing. They had done a fundraiser. We had the GoFundMe when we were searching for them. People have just given us money. We've saved all of that. When we had the reward for any information on the kids, there was money donated, and all of that's been put aside. Well, now we have to determine what we're going to do with that money, because they said they're going to pay for it. Knight Realty said they're going to pay for the whole development of this park. which is beautiful. Like that's the one thing that touches me is this could have been a very ugly situation with this company that between Tintic Consolidated and this real estate company that they could have just told us to piss off and, yeah, it was our land. We're going to cover it and you guys need to go away. But they helped excavate the current memorial site, but now they're giving back in more ways than we'll ever believe. So it's been an amazing thing.
And giving back in ways that can continue to give.
Absolutely. And I think that's my favorite part is being able to give back to the community because the community is what's got us where we're at now.
Yeah. Now the hard part's going to be deciding who to help.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And that's where we'll determine which charities, which nonprofits that, obviously helping youth. Both Riley and Breezy have had troubled backgrounds. Yeah. They've struggled with their lives. And so is it like mental health? There's so many things that we can give back to that this just opens up a whole new door that will continue to keep that going. Mm-hmm. And then the money that was donated that doesn't necessarily need to go into the park that maybe we can do a Breezy and Riley scholarship fund out of Eureka for Tintic High School, things like that it just broadens our ability to give back, to keep their name in a positive way and not just a shadow of what Jerrod Baum did to them.
Yeah, I want his name to disappear into the annals of history. Could have said anals, but yeah, no, I want it to be done. Well, let's take a minute and go through the comments real quick. We had a couple roll in. Amanda's getting some support. All right. And feel free to answer any that you want.
Okay.
Your sister.
Love you, sis.
Yes, her sister says she's watching. Stay strong. The only thing worse than a prison tat is a bad prison tat. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. It's a foul comment by me. Okay. What Amanda and everyone is going through. I lost a very, very close family member to a murder at the hands of her live-in boyfriend. We went through the court BS. Amanda and I are close, and we're here for each other. And I'm sure Amanda knows who that is.
Yes.
And
love you, miss.
And it sucks that it has to drag out this long. And I believe it does. COVID has really changed the landscape for timelines on a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. And it does. It sucks. I'm not going to lie. I can't sugarcoat it. It sucks. And I do respect the court system. I do respect the justice system. But from a family perspective, it sucks. But we'll get there. And I just have to have faith. And good things come to those who wait. And we've been extremely patient. And good things will come. You
guys were patient. And through the whole, even when they were missing, you guys were really you guys were stalwart. You were out there all the time, but you were I don't know, professional is not the word, but you guys were very respectful the whole time, and you weren't out screaming at people or doing anything else. And I think that's commendable on your part, because that gave a chance for Breezy and Riley to have a justice and have a community that stands behind that justice.
Absolutely. And we've heard all sides of it from the Misty and Lee standpoint, and we're crazy for standing behind them. And we knew we didn't know, but the writing on the wall was much different than what the reality was when we were searching for them. And the detectives were amazing. Sheriff Anderson was amazing in keeping communication, and it helped knowing days ahead what was to come. That I wore a lot of that on my shoulders, that nobody knew, not one person. I kept it to myself, that I didn't want to make anybody feel that pain. So I carried that. And so I knew when like the search warrants were coming, that what was to come, which helped me prepare. So when I faced my family, when I faced the community, I already went through the grieving process. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're so strong," and I've shed many tears. I've screamed, I've cried, I've done all of that. But
I don't think even if your strength came from you kept showing up. You were there
consistent.
every time.
Yeah.
No, you are strong.
Yeah.
You are.
And it just continues. And so it just, you have to be strong. Who's going to be there if we're not there?
Mm-hmm.
Those kids didn't have a voice. So we have to give them their voice.
Yeah.
We have to continue to stay strong. We've got to fight for them. They didn't get a fight.
So when do they plan on opening the park?
So it's still, we're probably still a year out.
Okay.
But it's progress, right?
Beautiful.
It's actually writing on paper, which good things come to those who wait, because we have to be patient. And that's the only thing I can justify with having patience is good things come to those who wait. And I'm ecstatic about this park. I'm not going to lie. Like, to have, and the way that the developer explained it, it's supposed to expand and recede, but it's like a walking trail. We can go, we can have and I know there's people that don't want to go up to the memorial because of what happened there. And it's tough for a lot of people. I think for us, that's our reality, and it is tough, but it's there. That's us. It's what's happened. So we can go there and still celebrate the kids, and we still get together for every birthday celebration, the anniversaries of birthdays and deaths and everything in between, because we've come together as a family. So I didn't know Riley before this, and Bill and Debbie and Nika and even the people that helped search, we're all a family now. They're friends who are now family, and it's, the park will be a great way to continue doing what we're doing, and hopefully we can continue to keep their name in a positive light.
You can even get bigger groups together now at the park.
Absolutely.
You can have big family groups.
Absolutely. And we hope that more people will, come and obviously like the dedication and stuff like that. And we'll have a huge celebration once trial's over. And we know that the death penalty will come with, appeals, and we're committed to that. And I think it's just this hump that we have to get, this initial one, but we're strong and we're not going to give up. We're not.
Good.
We're not.
Don't let them be comfortable.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't want that.
We're comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's the way that we have to live.
Well, yeah. You family members have sure carried a lot on your shoulders. You have.
Yeah.
I think everyone, let's thank Amanda for coming in and telling the story. And, when it does go to trial, I think we'll ask her to come back and
absolutely
give us thoughts on it. And then afterwards, I don't know what my feelings are on the death penalty. I wax and wane. I guess it depends on how angry the situation makes me, because I'm an emotional being,
and that's understandable.
Yeah. But I do not, I do not have any, let's just say I wouldn't have any sympathy for him if something bad were to happen to him at all.
Understandable. And everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that's what we face, is there's both sides of it. And, he could be locked up for the rest of his life and we could be done. But from a personal perspective, if we don't fight for death, we're not fighting hard enough. We're not. Those kids, like I said, those kids didn't get a fighting chance. We don't. And he's comfortable. He's been locked up so long that he's where he's at. That's home to him.
Yeah, that's his
normal
grounds.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Dave, thanks for calling in from Missouri.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
All right. Everyone have a good night, and we will see you next Friday. Next Friday,
Hey, guys.
Shannon, right?
Yes.
Okay. Next Friday, Shannon, we're going to be talking some guns.
No, actually, hey, Jerrod,
No,
I have
not
to-
guns.
I have to tell you, I won't be back on next Friday because that's my last day of class. So it'll be the week after that, I believe.
Okay, it'll be the week after that. Dave's learning crochet or something from the United
And
States
Dave,
Army.
since you've been on here, your wife has texted Jerrod at least 5 times.
Yeah.
Oh
Mm,
boy, I'm in trouble.
yeah. We see your last message.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amanda knows who you are. I don't.
Much love to you. Love your phone calls.
Yeah. So sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone have a good night. And this was a somber show. I'll figure out next week, make it a happy drunk show, and I'll stumble my way out of here.
Thanks, everybody.